Hello, welcome to week 5. Very exciting. We're on week 5 of the Course in Miracles study group. For all of you in the replay, we're so happy to have you in this space. You're still here energetically, even if you're not physically here on the Zoom call. If you ever did want to just dive in and be a part of the conversation, you can always email me. I'll leave my email down below and I'll send you the link and you can join. We're going to start on page 13 today underneath the bold text wholeness and spirit. Um, and before we get started, I'm going to have everybody just close their eyes and take a few centering breaths. Just breathing into our heart. Breathing all the way in. And then hold at the top for about 5 seconds. And breathe all the way out. And again, breathing in, setting the intention to breathe in peace. And hold. And to breathe out peace. Also setting the intention that you're just bringing all of your energy back to you now. You're settling into your heart. One more deep, clearing breath all the way in. And all the way out. All right, and we can open our eyes. I'm going to start, I'll go first. So I'll read the first paragraph where it starts. The miracle is much like. Does everybody have their copy? Oh, I'm sorry. Before I got started, I wanted to let everybody know, Angela pointed out to me that there's an online version that is free. If you go to acourseinmiracles.com, there is a free copy online. The whole thing is there, and you just click on, I believe there's a place where you can click text, and then you'll just go by chapter. So we would be on chapter, yeah, we're on chapter 1, and then you just keep flipping until you get to wholeness and spirit. Okay. All right.
What number is that?
That is, my page number is number 13.
Yes, and spirit. I'm a little lost.
It's number 5, the Roman numerals.
Oh, here we are. Okay.
Oh, do you have a maybe I have a different copy.
Oh, I didn't realize that that was in the chapter. That was me. Okay.
Oh,
I got it.
okay, good. You found it?
Yeah.
Okay, wholeness and spirit. The miracle is much like the body in that both are learning aids for facilitating a state in which they become unnecessary. When spirit's original state of direct communication is reached, neither the body nor the miracle serves any purpose. While you believe you are in a body, however, you can choose between loveless and miraculous channels of expression. You can make an empty shell, but you cannot express nothing at all. You can wait, delay, paralyze yourself, or reduce your creativity almost to nothing, but you cannot abolish it. You can destroy your medium of communication, but not your potential. You did not create yourself. So I take this with an understanding that our body has been gifted to us as a almost like an interface, as a way of communicating with this physical reality, to not lose our identity in it and to think that we are the body, we are the bodily urges, we are the thoughts that come with it and the medical issues or whatever comes with having a body, to not identify with these things, but to see it as a gift for us to miraculously interact with this reality. You can choose between, when you believe you are in a body, you can choose between loveless and miraculous channels of expression. You can make an empty shell, but you cannot express nothing at all. So as long as you're in a body, you're always in a state of creation and expression in the physical world. And it's just a matter of what you choose to intend through your physicality. That's what I interpret from this paragraph. Does anyone else have anything to their thoughts or anything to add?
Not really in particular any thoughts about it, but I love that because I know I have a few people in my life that are disabled and they really can get down on themselves about it. And I just love that, as long as you're living in a body, you have that creative power. And that's what I would like more people to be able to see. So I think this is really beautiful.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you.
Mhm.
All right. The next paragraph, Angela, you can read next if you'd like.
Okay. The basic decision of the miracle minded is not to wait on time any longer than is necessary. Time can waste as well as be wasted. The miracle worker, therefore, accepts the time control factor gladly. He recognizes that every collapse of time brings everyone closer to the ultimate release from time, in which the Son and the Father are one. Equality does not imply equality now. When everyone recognizes that he has everything, individual contributions to the sonship will no longer be necessary. I'm not really having that one sink in. Do you have anything?
Yeah, the way I interpret it is to say that it sort of goes back to not the past video, but the one before that, where I was talking about how you can collapse time by noticing when you're in a pattern or a cycle. And this is talking about time can waste as well as be wasted. To me, that means when you're just in a repetitive cycle and you're doing the same thing over and over again. I think that's what Einstein said, like how that's what it means to be insane is you're doing the same thing over and over again, but expecting different results. You're kind of just wasting time. Whereas he recognizes that every collapse of time brings everyone closer to the ultimate release from time. To me, this means every time we choose to learn a lesson and close out a cycle and collapse time, so we no longer need to exist within the lesson, we've collapsed it, we've understood it, and we've moved forward from it. Each time someone has one of these individual or mass collapses of a cycle, we're getting closer to the ultimate release with each lesson we learn, or the ultimate purification of being home and one with God.
I love that. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Glenn, did you want to read the third paragraph?
Sure, yeah. When atonement has been completed, all talents will be shared by all the sons of God. God is not partial. All his children have his total love, and all his gifts are freely given to everyone alike. Except ye become his little children means that unless you fully recognize your own complete dependence on God, you cannot know the real power of the Son and his true relationship with the Father. The specialness of God's sons does not stem from the exclusion, but from inclusion. All my brothers are special. If they believe they are deprived of anything, their perception becomes distorted. When this occurs, the whole family of God or the sonship is impaired in its relationships.
I love that paragraph. Do you have any reflections on it?
I don't understand.
That's okay. Um, you know, I love this paragraph. This phrase where it says, except ye become as little children, that has been repeating on my mind this whole week. That's just been replaying in my mind, become as little children. And what this makes me think of, let me say, means that unless you fully recognize your complete dependence on God, you cannot know the real power of the Son and his true relationship with the Father. And I posted a video about this yesterday. I'm going to talk about it again, but because it's so beautiful and so powerful. But yesterday I had this analogy that was gifted to me of what it's like to truly trust God and to like fall into this deep nosedive of trust is when you're a kid and you're going out, it's like a Saturday and you're going out to go play with your friends all day. So you're out and you're creating, you're building forts, you're playing soccer. You don't even know how much time has gone by. You don't even know what else is happening besides in your little world of playful curiosity with your friends and laughter. And then at some point, your mom calls and she says, "Hey, it's time to come home. Dinner's ready." And to you, that's just the way it is. It's normal. You trusted that your mom was going to have dinner ready. So that whole day, you didn't worry about whether or not there was going to be a meal for dinner. You trusted that there was going to be. So you just got to go out and play. And so you're like, oh, perfect. Because I didn't even realize it, but I'm actually starving. So I'm going to go home and eat food. And you didn't have to worry about how much the groceries were going to cost or how to get to the grocery store or what ingredients you have to buy or even how to prepare the meal. You didn't have to worry about any of that. It was just given to you. And you just trusted that it was going to be given to you at the end of the day. You trusted so deeply that you were going to be provided for that you actually spent the whole day not even worrying about it, playing. Maybe you built a fort in the woods with your friends, told jokes, and then it was just gifted to you. And this is, to me, I hope that this is coming across with my intention of how I want it to come across. But to me, this is what it means to trust God. This is what God is asking for us to do, is just go out and play and explore. And the whole time you can just have this sense of relief that your mom is in the kitchen making dinner for you right now. You don't have to worry. Of course, you're going to be provided for whenever it's dinner time, whenever you're hungry. So that's kind of what comes to mind when I read this paragraph, is just the complete trust in the fact that the divine is going to provide for us in each now moment. And when we're in a tense state of like, oh, is God really going to provide for us? We're pushing it away. Whereas if we can just relax and play and have fun, it's going to magnetize to us even quicker.
I love that. That makes perfect sense. I love that.
Yeah, I'm so glad. Yeah. I was thinking about that like a couple days ago and I just broke down crying. I was like, I can't even remember the last time that I truly felt that way, except for the last time I was a kid playing in the woods with my friends and while my mom was
Yeah.
cooking dinner.
That it's so perfect too, because it's just like that feeling of just safety. So I love that.
Yeah. All right. I guess it's my turn. Okay. I'll read next. When the atonement has been completed, all talents will be shared by all the sons of God. God is not partial. All his children have his total love, and all his gifts are freely given to everyone alike. Except ye become as little children means that unless you fully recognize your complete dependence on God, wait, you just read this one. Sorry. Well, I guess it
I
was just
didn't
meant
even
to be
realize.
that. Me either until I got to that part. I was like, wait, okay. I'll go down to ultimately. Well, I guess we didn't talk about the specialness of God's Son does not stem from exclusion, but from inclusion. All my brothers are special. If they believe they are deprived of anything, their perception becomes distorted. When this occurs, the whole family of God or the sonship is impaired in its relationship. So essentially, this just means that every single creature and human and being is being asked to exist in this sense of deep trust. And if someone is not existing in this deep sense of trust with the divine, it is simply because our perception is distorted. And because we are all one, when one of our brothers, when one of our members of the sonship is impaired, everyone is impaired. It's the reason why ascended masters ascend and then come back down to help us. It's because while they by themselves perhaps ascended and made it back home, they don't feel complete. It doesn't actually feel like they're all the way home because we still are here. So of course they're going to turn around and come back to help us see what they have seen because we are them and they are us. Which I think is beautiful. Can you imagine just a world of people existing in this state of ultimate trust and surrender and dependence on God? I guess that's what heaven is, but it sounds so beautiful.
It's interesting to think about how everything would start to reorganize. You know, if and when, ideally when that happens, that everything, everyone's lives just kind of start to reorganize. I think of it as like, those like sound tables where they put the sand and then they'll like do the sound and it will kind of organize into this perfect shape. I kind of imagine it being like that. It's that we'll just all kind of hear something and, like it's like everything will just kind of like shift.
Wow. I've never thought of it like that. And I love that analogy. That's really beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We're
I
just
would
all like
imagine that's
little
how it works
grains
too.
of sand.
That is so true. And then the vibration of God is what would create the whatever perfect alignment of shape that would look like. I'm not sure, but I'm sure. Wow. That's beautiful. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. If you'd like to read next, I think we're at ultimately.
Okay. Ultimately, every member of the family of God must return. The miracle calls him to return because it blesses and honors him, even though he may be absent in spirit. God is not mocked is not a warning, but a reassurance. God would be mocked if any of his creations lacked holiness. The creation is whole, and the mark of wholeness is holiness. Miracles are affirmations of sonship, which is a state of completion and abundance. Yeah, that's kind of exactly what I was just saying, is that the creation is whole and the mark of the wholeness is the holiness. I think that, let's see, God is not mocked. I'm not sure I understand that God is not mocked and God would be mocked part of that, though. What do you think about that?
God is not mocked is not a warning, but a reassurance. God would be mocked if any of his creations lacked holiness. I suppose this is just reflecting back to us that it's not possible for us to lack holiness. Because it's saying that, wait, God is not mocked, it's not a warning, it's a reassurance. So I would just take that to assume that it's a reassurance saying that it's impossible for any of God's creations to lack holiness, because if God is this ultimate, perfect, unconditionally loving source, and we were created in God's image, then of course that we would be that as well. And so God would be mocked. I just take that to mean that it's impossible for us to be unholy.
Okay, that makes sense.
And maybe if anything was perceived as unholy, it's a limit, it's like a distortion of the mind, which is false anyway.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's how I read it. Okay. Whatever is true is eternal and cannot change or be changed. Spirit is therefore unalterable because it is already perfect. But the mind can elect what it chooses to serve. The only limit put on the only limit put on its choice is that it cannot serve two masters. If it elects to do so, the mind can become the medium by which spirit creates along the line of its own creation. If it does not freely elect to do so, it retains its creative potential, but places itself under, I can never say that word, tyrannious rather than authoritative control. As a result, it imprisons because such are the dictates of tyrants. To change your mind means to place it at the disposal of true authority. Okay. Whatever is true is eternal and cannot change or be changed. So I suppose my interpretation of this would be that there is an unalterable spark of God's consciousness within you, but you can choose to serve the ego, which I suppose it's referring to as the tyrant, and cover this spark with layers upon layers upon layers of illusions until you're just lost in a reality of your own distortion and you're living through life serving this tyrant that is the ego who is trying to keep you in fear and keep you controlled and contained and small and limited. Whereas if you elect to then come up out of that, to rise up and begin choosing the authoritative control, the authority that is God, because it doesn't need to control you or manipulate you. It's an authority, it's a presence that you're just called to following. It's like principles that you're just called to abiding by, not by force or control. And that is why we're even able to fall into the tyranny of the ego in the first place, because God is not threatened by the ego. God understands what the ego is, an illusion. And so it's just going to hold strong and hold powerful in its knowing of what it is. And it doesn't feel the need to force you to follow it. Whereas the ego leads through fear. So it does feel the need to control you and force you into action through it. It retains its creative potential, but places itself. So it retains its creative potential, but places itself under tyrannous rather than authoritative control. So your creative potential, the potential that everyone holds in their heart, that spark can never be destroyed. You always have it. It's just a matter of how big the flame is, if you're choosing to feed the ember or to try and suffocate it. Yeah, do you have any thoughts about this paragraph?
I just think it's so perfect in the part where it says it retains its creative potential, because even as, you know, as like being a creator, something that I have been working through is like, obviously the online world, it's like create, create, create all the time. And that would be creation under the tyrannous um, tyrannous master or whatever, which is the ego. And I just think it's really interesting when it says it cannot serve two masters. I just kind of think of that as like there's like a lens for one and a lens for the other. So it's like where you choose your starting place from is like the ego or to be with God. And when you choose to be under the lens of working with God, it's like the creation has, it's like pure at that point. It has that purity and it can move forward and grow in a way that supports all, rather than if you're like in this create mode where you're just creating from ego, it's like those things don't really land. So, yeah, that's just kind of what I got out of it.
Yeah, I love that. I find myself in that battle often on this, like what you were saying, on this online world of wanting to feed that like ravenous hunger that can sometimes be found on social media. And it's so easy to fall into that trap of like, okay, okay, let me feed you.
Yeah,
Whereas if you choose to like stay in that authority, that remembrance of your authority and who you are, you don't act out of that same fear to feed the ravenous hunger because you see it for what it is rather than as something demanding your life force in
totally.
order to stay alive or whatever
That's
is
so true.
underneath
The
that.
demand of the life force too. It's getting out of that. I love that.
Mhm. Man, yeah, that's powerful. Okay. Oh, you're next.
Okay. The miracle is a sign that the mind has chosen to be led by me in Christ's service. The abundance of Christ is the natural result of choosing to follow him. All shallow roots must be uprooted because they are not deep enough to sustain you. The illusion that shallow roots can be deepened and thus made to hold is one of the distortions on which the reverse of the golden rule rests. As these false underpinnings are given up, the equilibrium is temporarily experienced as unstable. However, nothing is less stable than an upside down orientation, nor can anything that holds it upside down be conducive to increased stability. That is so funny. I feel like that's like exactly what we were just saying. Um, if you have to have the creations that are rooted, and that comes
Oh,
from,
it's cutting out.
oh, is that me or is it you?
Oh, no, no. I lost you.
Oh, I can hear you, but your screen's frozen. I hope it's not me because of the storm we have going on
Okay, I
here.
can hear you again. Can you hear me?
Yes.
It's better now.
Okay. Okay. Hopefully. Yeah, it's so stormy here that I'm like, am I gonna lose power? I don't know.
Yeah, I hope not.
Okay. So I don't know what I said, but it's the illusion that the shallow roots can be deepened. So it's like when you think of creation and putting yourself out there and creating what is aligned, it's like that can't come from the shallow roots. So yeah, that's pretty much exactly what we were just saying.
That is true. I love that. We're always on top. I feel like whenever we talk about a paragraph, the next paragraph is always what we just talked about, which we're
I know,
right, we're
that's
in it.
weird.
It's funny. Okay. I'm gonna move my, this is weird, but I'm like, maybe it's my Wi-Fi. So I'm gonna move my table a little bit, shift it,
Okay.
because the
Am I
Wi-Fi
still
is better in
choppy?
this. No, you're clear now. Okay,
Okay. Looks clear over here too.
perfect. Okay. Needs. Ooh, which I love that title already. Um, you who want peace can find it only by complete forgiveness. No learning is acquired by anyone unless he wants to learn it and believes in some way that he needs it. While lack does not exist in the creation of God, it is very apparent in what you have made. It is, in fact, the essential difference between them. Lack implies that you would be better off in a state somehow different from the one you are in until the separation, which is the meaning of the fall. Nothing was lackable. Needs arise only when you deprive yourself. You act according to the particular order of needs you establish. This, in turn, depends on your perception of what you are. Wow. No learning is acquired by anyone while lack does not exist. I just take this to mean very literally that we only lack if we choose to perceive ourselves as lacking. Our natural state, we are completely provided for. That is our natural state. And it's a choice to see in each now moment that we are provided for. And there's this practice that I do sometimes. It's hard to remember to do, but I do. I was going to say do it. Anyway, I do it whenever I remember, and I learned it from. But anyways, he always says that you lack nothing, you need for nothing, and if you ever do have a need, just know that it's coming from your ego, and there's nothing wrong with it. There's no shame that needs to be brought to the need. It's not a shameful thing. It's just a matter of fact of being in the ego's illusion. And so something you can do to honor the illusion while also simultaneously understanding that you are not the illusion is, say you have a need or a desire that arises of like, oh, I want some ice cream. I know I have some ice cream in my freezer and I kind of feel like I need that right now. To say a prayer to yourself almost like, I know I don't actually need
Ooh, you're cutting
ice
out.
cream. All I really need is God. That's what I know I'm really craving is God's presence. But my ego to say a prayer and say, be with me, God. So, eat the ice cream anyway.
You're cutting out just a little bit.
Oh no.
I could hear you, but the screen froze
Choppy.
up. But yeah, it is kind of interesting to think about like where is that desire for the ice cream coming from?
Right. Right. It's so funny. It's almost coming from that pit of lack within.
Yeah.
That's how I see it. Whereas I think it's different if the ice cream arises and you're like at a party and they have ice cream and you're like, oh, of course I'll have some ice cream. I'll indulge in this experience. It came into my reality, and so I'm going to experience it. Whereas if it's not being presented to you in your reality and you have to go like looking and searching for it to satisfy that need, it's coming from my own observations of myself. I don't want to speak for everybody, but from my own observations from myself, it comes from like this pit of lack that exists within me where I feel separate from God. And I'm
Mhm.
like, well, I don't want to deal with that right now. So I'm just going to eat the ice cream.
Yeah. A little too much on the pleasure right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel that.
Oh.
Okay. So, a sense of separation from God is the only lack you really need to correct. This sense of separation would never have arisen if you had not distorted your perception of the truth and had thus perceived yourself as lacking. The idea of order of needs arose because having made this fundamental error, you had already fragmented yourself into levels with different needs. As you integrate, you become one, and your needs become one accordingly. Unified needs lead to unified action because this produces a lack of conflict. That is so interesting. This is definitely something that I've been having going on in the last couple of years of my life. I've kind of taken time off from working to just really like figure out what's going on. And the needs, it just keeps coming up. It's like all of my needs are met, but it's not the needs that I think I need to have met. I haven't ever been in a situation where I've been starved or destitute or any of those things, but it's like there hasn't really been a whole lot of like the fun needs, but it's like building a new relationship with myself and with God, like without that. It's been really interesting. So this is just so perfect for me right now.
I love that. And that's so true, because I experience the same thing all the time where, you know, I'm not hungry. I have a warm bed to sleep in every night, but for some reason, there's something in me that's like, no, but you need to go to a beautiful resort in Jamaica. And that's how you'll really experience that your needs are met. It's like,
Yeah.
is that true though? I don't think so, but yeah, okay. Humans, the human experience is so funny. Okay. The idea of orders of need, which follows from the original error that one can be separate from God, requires correction at its own level before the error of perceiving levels at all can be corrected. You cannot behave effectively while you function on different levels. However, while you do, correction must be introduced vertically from the bottom up. This is because you think you live in a space where concepts such as up and down are meaningful. Ultimately, space is as meaningless as time. Both are merely beliefs. Hmm. Wow. I feel like I kind of grasp it internally, but I'm not sure of a good way of how to um, express what I'm grasping. Do you have any reflections for this paragraph?
Yeah, I kind of see that as so like I said, I've been like taking a break from working. Like I've been unemployed for an extended period of time, which has been crazy, but the way that I'm trying to view it from has been like instead of just growing upward and outward, right now I'm at this level and I'm growing downward and like vertically. So if I am like building a pyramid, like the larger my space outward vertically would be, is like the taller the pyramid would become. So it's like when you're in the one place, let's see, correction must be introduced vertically from the bottom up. So yeah, it's like the when you're in the place of like silence and reorientation, it's like you're still and the world is kind of still like revolving around you, but it's like that reorientation and you're growing vertically rather than up. And then eventually there will come a point where you can grow up, but it's like not until that vertical point is, I don't know if that makes sense.
That makes perfect sense. And that helped me a lot with this paragraph because I felt like I could kind of grasp it, but not really. And that was perfect. So thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like I'm in that kind of same stage as you are, where I'm just really focusing on, I guess, like, yeah, like the base of the pyramid or the roots that go down, um, which can be a frustrating place to be in for the ego, but yeah,
I've been in it for
beneficial.
years. It's been years now. So yeah, it's frustrating, but I'm finally at a point where I'm like, it is what it is, it's fine. I got a place to hang out and live and exist and do this work. So it's all good. It's just a
Yeah,
chapter.
yeah, that's a great perspective.
Let's see, which
Um, the real purpose.
okay, the real purpose of this world is to use it to correct your unbelief. You can never control the effects of fear yourself because you made fear and you believe in what you made. In attitude, then, though not in content, you resemble your creator, who has perfect faith in his creations because he created them. Belief, sorry, belief produces acceptance of existence. That is why you can believe what no one else thinks is true. It is true for you because it was made by you. That's just so perfect for this situation too, because I've had a lot of people around me just think I'm absolutely crazy. And it's like, I don't know, this is just what's going on, Like if I'm gonna follow my path is like do nothing. And that might be crazy, but I think after all this time, doing nothing is probably the most courageous thing you could do, in a world that's like, do everything. I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. So I think that's exactly what it's saying is like we created the fear.
Mm, that's true. I know. It's like that whole like be a boss babe, get it all done. I'm like, I don't want to be a
Oh,
boss babe. I just want to like, you know, chill most of the
yeah, I just
time.
want to live.
I just want to live my life. Yeah. Yeah. That's true. It's almost like the egoic constructs that we have created go directly against the where it says real purpose of this world, which is to correct your unbelief. Which, like what you said, sometimes that means doing nothing. And so, in doing nothing, you're fulfilling your purpose exactly. But to the egoic world, it's just like, oh my God, how could you? It like would freak out at the idea of stopping.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow. All aspects of fear are untrue because they do not exist at the creative level and therefore do not exist at all. To whatever extent you are willing to submit your beliefs to this test, to that extent are your perceptions corrected. In sorting out the false from the true, the miracle proceeds along these lines. Perfect love casts out fear. If fear exists, then there is not perfect love, but only perfect love exists. If there is fear, it produces a state that does not exist. Believe this and you will be free. Only God can establish this solution, and this faith is his gift. Um, to whatever extent you are willing to submit your beliefs to this test, to that extent are your perceptions corrected. I view this as like as far as you're willing to go down into the void, as deep as you're willing to drop into yourself, is as high as you're going to rise up out of it. And so if you have chosen to just surrender, like, whatever, I'm just going to surrender and drop into this void space with full faith that it's exactly what I need to do. I don't know. I just feel like the longer you're in that space, it's almost like the pullback of a slingshot. The longer you're in the pullback, the further back you're pulled, the further forward you're going to shoot. And yeah, and sorting out the false from true, the miracle proceeds along these lines. And it's in that space that you're able to pause and breathe and just be like, okay, let me untangle this web. Let me look at all the aspects where I'm acting out of fear. Let me look at all of the voids within me that are miscreations so that I can bring them to the light, bring them to the Holy Spirit, to God, Jesus, whoever, and they can undo these misbeliefs and miscreations for me only by me either sitting still or taking direct action against these misbeliefs. Will they be corrected? And I think it's just saying only perfect love exists. If there is fear, it produces a state that does not exist. It's just reiterating again that anything outside of God does not exist. Lack does not exist. Fear does not exist, and they only produce illusions.
Yeah,
Believe this and you will be free. Yeah.
that is so perfect. That is really the way to freedom. I don't quite feel that free yet, but I'm getting there.
It's just funny. We're doing our best. I didn't ever realize how hard it would be to just do nothing, because I feel the same way. Like, the guidance I've been receiving for years now, it's starting to pick up a little bit now where I'm creating more in this, but for the longest time, it's just been literally do nothing. I remember last summer, I spent the entire looking at the trees, and anytime my ego would be like, oh, I need to do something, I need to create something, I need to do this or do that, I could just feel my spirit or my higher self or whoever guiding me like, no, you need to just sit in this hammock and do nothing. And it felt
Yeah,
so crazy. It felt so crazy to just sit there and literally do nothing but look at trees for like 2 or 3 months. But it was
that was pretty
exactly
much
what I needed
my
to
whole
do.
summer too. It is interesting because
Okay.
I can feel like the ramping up starting to happen, that it's like, okay, it's like almost time to move, but I'm not entirely sure yet. So I'm still just like, I'll just see. So yeah,
Yeah.
I can
Like,
feel it too.
it's like reserving your energy. I heard this cool analogy the other day of this um, guy who was talking about the like martial arts. When they're in martial arts, they mainly conserve their energy and spend a lot of time like dodging and observing. And then whenever they do strike, it's always like at the exact perfect time. And it's the perfect strike, and it does exactly what they need it to do. But it wasn't because they tried a bunch of times and waited for just one to work out. It was because they sat back and observed for so long and conserved their energy for so long that whenever they did finally strike, it was perfect and it accomplished exactly what they wanted it to.
That is so
And I thought
perfect.
that was a
Just yesterday, I was talking to my brother about, like, I don't know if you're into astrology, but I'm a Taurus. So it's like I relate heavily with like the bull. And I was feeling that exact same feeling of like, I feel like the bull that's like in the little cage right before a bull ride. And it's like the bull has to like maintain its composure and be in that cage just waiting until they like flip the thing up and then it like goes crazy, but it's like I feel that so heavily if like I'm just this bull in this cage that's like I'm just watching and I'm waiting until that thing flips up and then I'm going. So that's like exactly like martial arts.
I love that. Yeah. Wow. I like that bowl analogy too. They kind of work so perfectly
Yeah, that's like
together.
the same concept. Kind of getting choppy again. Am I breaking up again?
All right. Just a little bit, but mainly it's just your video, and then I can hear your words.
Oh, okay, cool. Same. I can hear you, but you're a little like all over. Okay. Um, was I on the next one? Did I? Yeah.
Yes,
So it's
under
the
distortions.
distortions of miracle impulses.
Yes.
Your distorted perceptions produce a dense cover over miracle impulses, making it hard for them to reach your own awareness. The confusion of miracle impulses with physical impulses is a major perceptual distortion. Physical impulses are misdirected miracle impulses. All real pleasure comes from doing God's will. This is because not doing is a denial of self. Denial of self results in illusions, while correction of the error brings release from it. Do not deceive yourself into believing that you can relate in peace to God or to your brothers with anything external. What? This
Your
is because
distorted
not doing
perceptions.
is a denial of self. That's like the antithesis of what we have just been talking about. But
I know.
let's see.
I feel like it's almost saying, um, like physical impulses are misdirected miracle impulses, which I would take to believe that the physical impulses are kind of what we were just talking about, where they're like our egoic need to always be producing. And if we're not careful, we can perceive them as miracle impulses, which would be, the perfect strike or whatever. When it is time to strike, it'll just flow naturally. It'll feel so right and it'll feel like the perfect move because it is you. It's coming from a place of self-assurance. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. Let's see. And then the denial of self is that what results in the illusions, while correction of the error brings release from it. So it's correcting the error of the illusion, and then you're released from that physical impulse to make miracles happen or whatever. Yeah.
Mm, yeah. It's almost like when we're in the pullback, we're learning how to tell the difference between a physical impulse versus a miracle impulse. And sometimes to learn yourself that deeply, you have to kind of stop all impulses and just observing like, oh, where's that impulse coming from? Okay, and where's that one coming from? So that you know yourself on such a deep level that when the miracle impulses do arise, you know exactly where they're coming from and you can take action on them um, without being in denial of yourself.
That's perfect.
Okay, there you are.
Oh,
Okay, let me see. Um, how are you feeling? Do you want to pause and we can finish this chapter? It's up to you.
Yeah, we can do that. Yeah, we're like
Yeah,
right at the
because I was
end.
like, well, it's yeah. I was like, let's just do it.
Okay, cool.
Okay. Child of God, you were created holy. Do not forget this. The love of God, for a little while, must still be expressed through one body to another, because vision is still so dim. You can use your body best to help you enlarge your perception so you can achieve real vision, of which the physical eye is incapable. Learning to do this is the body's only true usefulness. Um, this paragraph, it makes me feel really good when I read it in my heart space, but it's almost a little confusing to my mind of trying to understand it. Um, the best that I can do to understand it is basically we can only perceive such a limited amount of reality, and the best way to begin perceiving more of reality is through the body, somehow using our body to enlarge our perception to achieve real vision, which I would assume is seeing reality as it truly is, not this limited perception of it, but I don't fully understand how the body plays a role.
Um, I just see the body as the receptor or I kind of think of it as like a terminal because it's the organism that's like taking in the information.
Mm.
And when it says um the love of God for a little while must still be expressed through one body to another because the vision is still so dim. I see that as like when you are in contact with another person, it's like it's not really like our vision that we're picking up. Like we can pick up the visual aspects of it, but our bodies are the ones that are transferring the information. So um and the vision is still so dim. So it's like when you use your body to best help you enlarge your perception and achieve real vision, it's like we have to be in our body to be able to do that. The only way to really to like stop the dimming of the vision is like to be in your body and be present when you're in like communion with another person. So learning to do this is the body's only true usefulness. So it's like our bodies aren't here for, like these worldly
Mm.
pleasures. I mean, they can be, but it's like that's not what it's for. It's for like the transfer of information.
Mm. Yeah, I love that. That makes a lot of sense. Um, Almost like in order to ascend, we must be willing to descend down into the body. Like it's not
Yeah.
all about being out of body, it's actually about descending so deeply into your own physical body that you eventually merge and become one.
Yeah, totally. That's like
Yeah.
I think the basis of it. And I don't know if you're familiar with like Gnostic teachings, but I feel like a lot of people that are kind of like in that realm, they're so much like I hate this body. It's just a meat suit. Like I want to get out of here. Like everybody's just trying to like escape. And it's like that's not what this is about. We're here to live in this human form and to experience each other. like how amazing it is that we get to live in a body and we get to feel all of the things that we can feel and we get to transfer information to each other in those ways. So it's like this is so much more aligned with what I believe than, some of the stuff that you see out there in other teachings.
Mm, yeah, I agree with you. Thank you. That helped me a lot.
Yeah. Okay, fantasy is a distorted form of vision. Fantasies of any kind are distortions because they always involve twisting perception into unreality. Actions that stem from distortions are literally the reactions of those who know not what they do. Fantasy is an attempt to control reality according to false needs. Twist reality in any way, and you are perceiving destructively. Fantasies are a mean of making false associations and attempting to obtain pleasure from them. But although you can perceive false associations, you can never make them real except to yourself. You believe in what you make. If you offer miracles, you will be equally strong in your belief of them. The strength of your conviction will then sustain the belief of the miracle receiver. Fantasies have become totally unnecessary as the wholly satisfying nature of reality becomes apparent to both giver and receiver. Reality is lost through your usurpation, which produces tyranny. As long as a single slave remains to walk the earth, your release is not complete. Complete restoration of the sonship is the only goal of the miracle minded.
Mm,
I think that's kind of the same thing as like the fantasy would be, um, like just getting out of the body. That to me is the fantasy of like just staying in all of this mental, like I'm going to other places and I'm not here. It's like that to me is fantasy. It's like when you're living here and you're living in your body, it's like there's not really room for fantasy, although it's like there's parts of it where you need a little bit of delusion. But yeah, the fantasies become totally unnecessary as the wholly satisfying nature of reality becomes apparent to both the giver and receiver. I just see that as when you are fully living in your body, living in your life, and loving your life. It's like when you come across somebody who is like that, you can't help but be that too. And so the complete restoration of the sonship is the only goal of the miracle minded. It's like a tuning fork. If we are each like in the specific tune, then it can't help but spread to the people around us. And then in that sense, there's no need for fantasy at that point.
mm, that's so true. Yeah, I love that. And I don't have anything to add. You said it perfectly. Um, yeah, it's almost like at that point, reality becomes the fantasy. It's like learning to not escape and try to go somewhere else, but learning how to just be here. It's okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, this is a course in mind training. All learning involves attention and study at some level. Some of the later parts of the course rest too heavily on these earlier sections not to require their careful study. You will also need them for preparation. Without this, you may become too fearful of what is to come to make constructive use of it. However, as you study these earlier sections, you will begin to see some of the implications that will be amplified later on. That makes sense to me. Just sort of, I love that this book is written in such a way that it builds on itself. It doesn't try to go like into the heart of the matter right at the beginning. I mean, it is upfront about what the book is about, but to prepare our consciousness for the rest of the teachings, which is helpful. It's
Yeah,
almost like when you're, yeah, I feel like it like confronts your consciousness to such a level that if you don't like warm your consciousness up to it, it'll just feel so confronting that you might just, slam the book closed and be like, I'm never opening that thing again.
yeah. And it's so helpful because when you have these, when you have this guidance to like do nothing, it's like, what is going on? But then when you have something like this, it's like, oh, this is actually real. This is actually true. That it gives you that grounding that it's like, oh, okay, this is just part of the process.
Mm. Yeah, some reassurance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love that.
Okay. A solid foundation is necessary because of the confusion between fear and awe to which I have already referred and which is often made. I have said that awe is inappropriate in connection with the sons of God because you should not experience awe in the presence of your equals. However, it was also emphasized that awe is proper in the presence of your Creator. I have been careful to clarify my role in the atonement without either over or understating it. I am also trying to do the same with yours. I have stressed that awe is not appropriate reaction to me because of our inherent equality. Some of the later steps in this course, however, involve a more direct approach to God Himself. It would be unwise to start on those steps without careful preparation, or awe will be confused with fear, and the experience will be more traumatic than beatific. Healing is of God in the end, the means that are being carefully explained to you. Revelation may occasionally reveal the end to you, but to reach it, the means are needed.
Mm.
I love that as a foundation. It just goes back to the deepening roots and building the base of the pyramid. It's like without this kind of stuff, without these teachings, there would probably be a lot more mental turmoil than there already has been.
That's so true. Yeah. Wow. Awesome. Thank
Okay.
you for reading through this with me. Let's go to the lesson.
Okay. And that was lesson 2, right?
Let's see, we're on lesson 2.
Okay.
Yes, lesson 2. Okay. I have given everything I see in this room, on the street, from this window, in this place, all the meaning that it has for me. The exercises with this idea are the same as those for the first one. Begin with the things that are near you and apply the idea to whatever your glance rests on. Then increase the range outward. Turn your head so that you include whatever is on either side. If possible, turn around and apply the idea to what was behind you. Remain as indiscriminate as possible in selecting subjects for its application. Do not concentrate on anything in particular, and do not attempt to include everything you see in a given area, or you will introduce strain. Merely glance easily and fairly quickly around you, trying to avoid selection by size, brightness, color, material, or relative importance to you. Take the subjects simply as you see them. Try to apply the exercise with equal ease to a body or a button, a fly or a floor, an arm or an apple. The sole criterion for applying the idea to anything is merely that your eyes have lighted on it. Make no attempt to include anything particular, but be sure that nothing is specifically included. I like that we're kind of going over the last one again because this past week was just, um, yeah, it was a weird week for me. So I did not remember to apply any of this. So I'm going to try again this week. Um, yeah, and I do like this lesson. I have given everything I see in this room all meaning that it has for me.
I like it. I
I love
definitely
that it's almost like the
try.
idea of becoming a blank slate.
Yeah, I like that. I liked the last lesson. I feel like it helped me a lot. I was kind of in a not a good place like the week before last, but this last week I'm finally feeling a little bit better. So, and I think the lesson really helped because, I might not be where I want to be, but I'm the one placing meaning on all of these things. So I like this.
That's true. I like it too. Awesome. I had such a great um, time talking with you. I really love these conversations.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun. Thank you so much for
Yeah,
holding this.
of course. It's so fun and exciting. And thank you everyone on
Yeah.
the replay as well for joining us. Um, yeah, and I'll talk to y'all next week unless you had any final statements or conclusions or anything on your mind.
That's all I got. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.